Yes, Alex, thank you very much. Thank you for the introduction, and thank you very much to Transport Events, as always, for supporting our Caspian agenda. I think you have really helped to push us a little bit more to the forefront of the international discussion. It has certainly shined some light upon our endeavors in the Caspian, especially in terms of the TITI Association. I would like to take you, all of the participants, and also thank you to the people who have signed on to this event. It's actually, I think, quite impressive to see that we are 89 participants in addition to the panel members here. So thank you to all of you for signing on and showing interest in this event. So the theme of today is our current challenges in the Caspian Sea and our future opportunities. I have made a very simple. I'm sorry, I'm not that good as at the PowerPoint presentations as you saw with Marco. We have a fantastic presentation with nice little pictures and everything. Mine is very simple, but these are some of the things that I see we are fighting with a little bit, and some of the things that we have definitely succeeded with over the past years. So let me start by opening this one and making this screen share with you. Desktop PowerPoint share. Here we go. So I hope everybody can hear and see whatever is on the screen now. Just to give you very briefly, I'm sure most of you, or at least a bigger part of you, would already know what is Port Aktau. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that, just telling you that we are one of the key assets along the Silk Road. We are one of the assets that have yet to be properly used, properly utilized. We are, as you saw from Rahmatullah's presentation, one of the founding partners in the Trans-Caspian trade route. We're very proud of that. I personally believe that this is an extremely important endeavor that we have done for Kazakhstan as a country, and especially for the Caspian as a route, as a transport corridor, as a gateway, let's say, for cargo coming in and out of Central Asia, and obviously especially for the Chinese region as well with the Silk Road project. Port Aktau has for some years been working in a cooperation with the big port operator DP World. And we're trying together, let's say, to share best practices and share knowledge across that platform. Generally, the infrastructure of Port Aktau, we consider that we have a capacity around 17.7 million tons per year. The major part of that is the oil berths. We have 6 oil berths that are at about 12.5 million. We have general cargo berths, 2.5 million, and ferry terminal at 2 million, and grain terminal at around 700,000 per year. At the moment, the way the port stands today, we have a throughput capacity of around 40,000 TEUs. At that point, we will need to add new cranes and configure our yard a little bit different. But after that, we would be able to go up to around 100,000 TEU per year. As you can see from the right side, capacity is the green, and the gray area is utilization. Why this is important, we will get to that a little bit later. Some of the bigger ports, especially some of the European ports, will know how very important it is to have sufficient capacity in the port whenever you talk about any kind of development or future outlooks. Capacity is the first thing you should look at in a port, because once you open up the gates, once you successfully start the corridor, you will be seeing a violent growth of cargo throughput. So this is what I would like to bring into the forefront about Port Aktau. Moving on to the agenda for today, current challenges, especially transparency is an issue. This is something what Marco touched upon. This is something I'm sure the clients who are active across the Caspian will know. Transparency issues. What do I mean by transparency? I mean, first and foremost, tracking, which means we need to open up. We need to be able to show our clients exactly where is the container. we need to go even further than that. We need to be able to more or less what you see in the airway, let's say air cargo industry. Once you book the cargo, you can already see when will it hit. So you book the cargo on a flight that will leave tomorrow. Day after tomorrow, it will transit in Singapore at 17:55. It will move on to third airport and second and let's say lastly arrive in Almaty. Let's just say 15th of December at 18:55. This you know already when you book it in. There's nothing stopping us from being able to do exactly the same. The way we are setting up our operations, we are basing them on block trains, which means we have already in the system, in the railway system, we have a schedule put. We have based ourselves on a weekly feeder across the Caspian, which means we have a docking or berthing window to hit. So basically, there's nothing stopping us from making a tracking in advance and then simply just update along the way as the cargo moves through the various gates, be it, for example, Khorgos, be it Port of Aktau, Port of Baku, what we have the border crossing between Georgia and Azerbaijan. So there's nothing stopping us from this. Schedule integrity is an issue that, well, basically you have anywhere in the transport industry, because we have outside factors like weather, like IT breakdown. This is a very, let's say, current thing with a big shipping line, CGM. They just got hit 2 days ago, or when was it, 3 days ago, by a virus that completely ruined their operations to the point that they're not even able to take bookings at the moment. So there's various outside factors that affect our schedule integrity, but we will be able to control this much better if we increase transparency. For example, if we increase the way, let's say, go to the next level in the way we cooperate with each other, not by sending emails, not by sending Excel tables and so on and so forth, but by integrating our various IT systems. Volume scaling. This is an issue that when you have, let's say, fairly small feeders, for example, from Aktau into Baku, we saw towards the end of last year and beginning of this year that we were more or less drowning in our own success, so to speak. We got a little bit more cargo than we had expected, and immediately we had to start to short ship cargo, which again means we could have avoided this with a better forecasting system. So if we would have known in advance that this cargo is booked in, it will show up in 2-3 weeks, we would have been able to tackle those issues a little bit better. At least we would have been able to add capacity. Transport could have added a vessel earlier. Again, bringing it back to the integration of the various systems and bringing on board all the players into the same boat, so to speak. This again comes into the fourth point, which is cross-border cooperation. So with the TITR, it's an extremely complex transport setup we are trying to develop. I don't know of any other transport corridor that operates in such a complex area, meaning that we are 5, 6, 7 countries involved. We are probably twice that amount of companies involved. So probably something like 7, 8 countries and up towards the end of teens, closer to 20 companies involved. In order to make a transport. Usually you would have, let's say, a freight forwarder, a client, let's say a shipper, a consignee, a freight forwarder, and a line, meaning either an airline or a shipping line. So 3 to 4 companies and usually no national interests too much in the forefront. What we're trying to do, we have national interests to the forefront of the issue. We have, like I said, 5, 6, 7 different countries and towards 20 different companies. So for us, cross-border cooperation, I see that as one of the major issues, because it brings with it so many complex things. Again, we are coming back to what Marco showed with and what Solvo also presented, Daniel. We do need sort of one ring to control them all, not to control them all, but to share all of the information that is captured all along the route, because each one of us, we have all the information we need, and we have the schedules, we have everything what we need to create this transparency. But we do need to be able to share it in a proper way. Lack of efficient container pool. This is another issue that we are coming across regularly, that we don't have an operator as such along the route that would be able to operate a big pool of containers. We are usually confined to this or the other freight forwarder who's trying to set up their own container logistics. In the bigger ports, usually you would have all of the international freight forwarders and all of the bigger shipping lines who will take care of that side of things. This is unfortunately not the reality for us in the Caspian yet. I do believe that we will see this showing up within the next year or so. Container flows. This is particularly for Central Asian countries, meaning for Kazakhstan and for Uzbekistan. What I have noticed in my years here is that we are working in locked loops, which means that the import, let's say Chinese or Korean imports, are coming into the area and the containers are being moved back again towards those areas. Same thing goes for the bigger import that we have from Turkey. This is mainly, for example, today coming in by trucks, and those trucks move again back to Turkey. So we have two loops that are not integrated together. What I mean is we have an import container coming from Far East. That container might as well go back to Turkey instead of going back to the Far East. So we have two closed container loops not integrated with each other. With a better, again, IT infrastructure, we could create probably a container platform where we could offer containers to the two different loops. A non-holistic approach. What I mean by that is that each port in itself is developing their own port, or let's say terminal, and logistics operators are developing their own IT systems. So we in Aktau, we have Solvo. On the other side in Baku, they have been lucky to catch Marco. We have KTZ Express, who's developing a third system. We have Horgos. They used to have Navis, but now they have invested into a Chinese TOS. And we're sitting a little bit in our own little holes, not really being very good at sharing information, and not really being very good, in my opinion. This is, let's say, my personal opinion. We're not good enough to share the information. Just one second. Hey, what are you going to say? We're not being good enough to share the information, and we don't have, let's say, enough will, so to speak, to make this work yet. It will come, and this is definitely something that we will see in the future, because without this, we will not be able to reach the targets that we have set for ourselves. Having said that, I just want to bring you back to give you a little bit of history. Let's say before we started with our endeavors in Port Aktau, the figures we had was towards 5,000 TEUs a year in Port Aktau. We started with the feeder operations in 2019, and in that year itself, we came up close to 15,000 TEUs for the year. So that's a tripling of our volumes, simply because we got the feeder in place. Today, let's say in 2020, obviously we have some issues with this COVID and whatnot, but I'm confident that if we would not have had COVID in the beginning of the year and still have the effects, we would have easily made around 30,000 TEUs this year in the port of Aktau. So within 2 years, we have five times more container turnover than we had seen historically. And it's important for me to underline that in my opinion, and with my, let's say, 15 years of experience in the area, we can very easily do around 100,000. There is cargo enough even without taking into consideration any Chinese transit cargo, there is enough to make at least 100,000 TEUs across the Caspian between Baku and Aktau. But it does require us to let's say, bid in or lean in and start to cooperate more in terms of information sharing, in terms of start to servicing our clients in a proper way. Means transit time, means what I put in the first part, transparency. In this case, we can do, I mean, at least 100,000, at least 100,000. So these are the things I think at the moment we should deal with and have a closer look at in order for us, let's say, to develop the cross Caspian traffics. I just wanted to show this little map because, first of all, it's the map that has to be in any logistics presentation these days, especially if it's something related to our area. But I'm showing it also because it gives a good impression of how big an area, what is our actual, let's say, our potential in this trade. So you see a vast area, and if we look at the amounts of people living there, amount of trade and everything, we have a huge potential for transit across the Caspian, should we decide, let's say, or when we will solve these, let's say, transparency or IT information issues, so on and so forth. We have a very, very big potential market. One of the issues that has not been brought up so much, partially, I guess, because of politics, but also because it's maybe a little bit less, there would be less traffic, is the north-south corridor, where we are seeing a little bit more interest these days from both from Iran, from India, but also from Russia in developing this corridor. And I think this poses also as quite a good potential, let's say, development for both the IT companies, means Solvo and DBA, as well as for us as Port Aktau and the shipping lines. Obviously, right now the political climate may not be so much for Iran, but it's still something that we see in the future, and something that I definitely, we in Aktau are keeping an eye on. Opportunities. So first and foremost, like I said, we have available capacity in all of the ports, and the railways also have capacity enough for a considerable increase in the cargo throughput. Once we do get the infrastructure aligned, means when we get our various systems to speak with each other, we will have a very efficient and a very good corridor set up for our clients. It is not only for so the One Belt, One Road has always been pushed as an excellent alternative to the truck, let's say mainly the air and the ocean container shipping. In our case, our alternative route will not only be to China, but for all of the countries in Central Asia and even Russia, and possibly, let's say, even the local imports to and from China. So we will have a very good value offering once we have the information systems up and running. Adding the Caspian, the cross-Caspian, the trans-Caspian road to the Chinese One Belt, One Road will add new capacity. As we all know, the northern route going across Poland and Belarus is close to being full. I mean, they have already had capacities, and they do have capacity issues at the moment. We have considerable spare capacity to be used, so this is definitely a good opportunity for the Chinese shippers. North-south route that I just showed on the previous slide. When we finally will get our service parameters together and start to provide the transit time that we can provide and deliver the transparency that we can deliver, we will open up new markets. This means both new markets for export of Central Asian cargo. Especially, we have a discussion with the Kazakhstan exporters that if we are able to give them a more efficient rate and a quicker transit time, they will be able to reach new markets with their products. Same thing goes for the other Central Asian countries. Uzbekistan especially, I think, is for Aktau definitely a target market. And as we always see in container shipping, which is my background mainly, whenever you start any route, whenever you start, cargo always shows up, and cargo always shows up more than you expect. So with higher service level, with increased transparency, and with good, let's say, infrastructure, we will attract more cargo. So cargo that we don't even have in our cargo maps today will show up, and we will start to get into my last point, which is the virtuous circle. Means we have the infrastructure in terms of IT setup. We have the transparency in terms of delivering our clients clear information about where is their cargo, when will it arrive. Then we will start to attract more cargo, and then we get into the virtuous circle. And in a couple of years, we will start to see that we need to add capacity. This is what I see for the future. But again, it is imperative that we do increase the transparency of our various, of the various ports, of the various, let's say, elements of our transport corridor. So this is what I wanted to put on the agenda today. Once again, let me please say a thank you to Transport Events for bringing this to the forefront on the agenda, for arranging these issues for us. Alex, thank you very much for being the moderator on this, and I will pass on back to you